chocolate.
Okay. All right,
Where's the
guys.
beefsteak one?
That's right. Where's the beef take 1, 2, 3, and 4, probably. I appreciate you guys coming and listening. It's kind of a twofold opportunity for us, like Ms. Weingang said. You know, we are required to do this, and you guys, as well as myself, need professional development. So I feel like I'm getting as much out of this as you are because I'm having to teach what I'm learning about special education. I'm not going to stand up here and preach to you because I wouldn't want a physical education teacher or a special ed teacher come in and tell me how to do PE. So I'm definitely, and neither is Christy, come in trying to tell you how to do special ed. But what I would like for you to do is listen, and hopefully something will trigger something in your brain and maybe make it easier to write different goals that you have to write in your IEPs. This has been a very, very good learning process for me. We're going to basically talk about IEP goal development. Okay, you set personal goals, you set professional goals. I myself have set personal goals and took it from the lifestyle change with dieting and exercise. And it wasn't something big that impacted the lifestyle change. It was the minute little aspects of making a big change. And I feel like looking over the IEPs that I've looked at, it's the little words that you use that are the difference between a good and observable IEP versus one that needs a little bit of help.
We talk about the IEP development cycle. The first thing that we have to do is collect the data. And then after we collect the data, what do we do with it? Well, we need to identify the need of the student. Okay? And then how do we develop a goal to identify the need? And what we do is it's a cycle, and once we develop the goal, then we implement it. And it is this cycle that just continues to go around, as all of you know, is something that's updated yearly.
All right, this next slide is working toward a SMART goal. We all, at Great Bridge at least, I can't speak for outside schools, but at Great Bridge, we've been writing SMART goals for ourselves for the last 3 to 4 years. So now what we're basically going to do is take the training that we got with SMART goals as a staff and apply it to the special education part with writing annual goals for IEP. These 2 goals right here are example annual goals that you may come across. Shep, would you read the first one for me?
Sure. Sheree will improve algebra skills by passing her algebra SOL with a score of at least 400.
Okay. And then Ms. Calvano, will you read the next one?
Sheree, when presented with a 2-step word problem, will solve using multiplication or division with 70% accuracy in 3 out of 4 trials.
Okay. I would like for you guys to tell me which one, whether it be 1 or 2, would be the appropriate SMART goal that you could actually use in a regular IEP.
2.
Okay, good. 2. All right. It has everything that a SMART goal wants. It's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, and it's in a timely fashion that you can tell the end result. All right. Next, go ahead. Pete, will you read that one?
Jared will improve attendance by reducing tardies to fewer than 3 per month and absences to fewer than 1 per week.
All right. Ms. Brown?
By whatever date, Gerard will improve behavior and social skills as evidenced by a decrease in office referrals from an average of 5 per month to an average of less than 2 per month.
Okay, and out of those 2, which one would be the actual SMART goal? Do you have an idea? Which one would be better?
Control number 1.
Correct. What did you say?
Oh, you can't control number 1.
Right, and why can't you control it?
Well,
Obvious.
I don't get them up in the morning.
Correct. All right, and that's the point. That's exactly right. That's the point that was made. I mean, you can't control whether a kid comes to school or not. So obviously, goal number 2 or example number 2 would be the one that you want to put for an annual
You
goal.
can't control number 2 either.
Well, you're right. When it comes right down to it, you're right.
That's your group.
You're right.
But you can try to influence them.
You can influence one way or
You
the
can try to
other.
influence first.
You can set goals.
Call Holmes if they am. Get them up.
Get them up, right? Okay, this, I don't know how well this is going to go as far as you've been able to see it.
I can move the screen.
All right. Go ahead. I cannot see.
Just keep taking it down. Okay. We put the titles across the top. What's the present level of performance? Well, the person that we know is 13 years old and a 7th grader, okay? Their comprehension is on a 5th grade level. Their work content area, they need help on vocabulary, and then the third grade decoding skills affect the comprehension for the students. So what is our need, okay? Our needs and our concerns, our goals and our objectives, our accommodations and modifications, our services and placements, and then of course our progress towards the goal. If we look at all of this, I think the next slide is a little bit more beneficial. Okay? I can go across the red. The weak content area, of course, is vocabulary, but what's the need and the concern? To improve that vocabulary for that student. Our goals and our objectives is using vocabulary enhancement strategies. Susan will increase her content area vocabulary to approach grade level. When we get to accommodations and modifications, we talked about instructional. We can preview vocabulary and content area reading assignments. Almost every core class has vocab that goes along with their lesson plans. And then we make vocabulary pick lists available to assist the child that struggles with that. And that goes to service and placement, special education classroom, comprehensive middle school, general education classroom, and a comprehensive middle school. And then the progress has been noted since last year because we're going to be keeping track of it over a period of time as part of that SMART process. And then the progress reports, okay? And you can take the decoding, the third grade decoding, okay, and take it over to the needs and concerns. Well, the needs and concerns and the levels of performance basically are the same thing. The key is how do we get to our goals and objectives? We use a multi-sensory reading program. I believe there's two that we're going to talk about a little bit later on. For multiple syllable words, Susan will improve her decoding skills to approach the grade level. What's the accommodation? Multi-sensory reading program and peer reading. In the classroom, I have a lot of students that refuse to read because of that struggle. So we try and help them along with a smaller group. And then, of course, it goes over to service and placement, and again, the progress is towards the goal. If you look at the arrow, the very large arrow in the center, it goes down to assessment accommodations, okay? How much time do we need? Maybe time and a half to do that lesson compared to someone who could take 30 minutes. We need to give that student additional time. Possibly they're a little overwhelmed and they might need to have it read to them. So what we do is take them and put them in a separate location or a smaller structure, which you're all familiar with. And then we read aloud perhaps, except when it interferes with the construct of a test. And then the directions to read aloud 2 or more times than the standard number of times provided for all students, okay? So we put multiple areas that we have the potential of touching that student, whether it's reading or extra time or in a separate location. Any questions with this?
All right, sources of data. There's a whole list of them. You guys have been writing IEPs for a lot longer than I've probably been alive. However, what are some of the sources of data that you may use to construct an annual goal? We use them every day, different types. What are some?
Informal classroom testing.
I'm sorry.
Informal classroom testing.
Okay.
Classroom assessments,
Classroom assessments. Anybody else?
SOL reports.
SOL reports. Okay. There are a whole list of them. You know, we use them, and as a regular classroom teacher, I don't even realize that some of the stuff that I have done is part of the data that comes into play with writing annual goals. However, you know, you've got the Read 180, which I know we have here, benchmarks, which we spoke about. You have, at the younger levels, you have the iReady at the middle school.
Yeah, that's our time.
Huh?
You can do this our time.
You can do what?
That's
SRI? Yeah, okay. So again, we're going to use this data, and then that's where we're going to come into play with the present level of performance. Okay, the thing about present level performance, it cannot be overstated that the overall quality of an IEP rests firmly on the foundation of this present level of performance. And you have to be careful because every need that you identify, unfortunately, you're going to have to get, or fortunately, you're going to have to get a performance or annual goal that goes along with it. And sometimes that's where we make a mistake. We identify so many needs and then we don't have the annual goals to go along with it and be successful with what we're trying to do.
Okay. Present level of performance, I'm sure you all refer to it as PLOP. Strengths and affinities, needs, academic and functional. Okay. Preferences or interest, parent-student concerns. A lot of times parents voice their concerns. They may be different than what the students are. We kind of work with both of them. Special considerations, progress in the past year. How have they progressed over the time frame that we have set for them? Student performance compared to standards. ESTAT, what has worked and what hasn't. And then, of course, transition, post-high school plans, age 14 and up. That's fine.
Present levels of performance also. Annual goals are developed to address the individual's plot, otherwise known as. I've learned, if anything, I've learned that you guys have so many abbreviations that stand for so many different things. I had to go Google and talk to Ms. Weingan about half the stuff that I was having to look up because I was clueless. You know, I can't stand in front of you guys and sit here and talk about plot, and I didn't even know what it was. Okay, so kudos to you. I've really gotten my eyes wide open with what you guys do on a daily basis. There must be a direct relationship between the annual goal and the present level of performance. That's what I spoke about earlier. If you identify too many needs, then it's going to be hard for you to write the annual goals that have to go along with all these needs.
Okay, so what we need to do is make them specific, okay? And the first one, of course, is learning. The second is social, health, developmental characteristics of the child. Put all of these characteristics into play and when we are thinking of the plots that we need to accommodate that child.
Hence the mustard, relish, and ketchup. We're forming our hamburger here. All right. What it basically comes down to in my eyes after looking over all this stuff, when you guys are doing the plot, all right, it has to be meaningful, measurable, and observable, which comes down to the SMART goals. Okay? You're basically writing a SMART goal when it comes down to writing an annual goal. Make it observable, make it timely, make it meaningful. And the way that you're able to do this is through all the different data that we spoke about earlier, the formal assessments, class tests, the behavioral checkoff sheets that I've filled out a number of times, okay? And the important thing about that is hopefully the teachers that you're giving them to, they're filling them out the way they need to be filled out and not just checking them off and saying, yeah, no, okay, whatever. Again, learning tool for me. Not saying that I was one of the teachers that would just go check off just to get it done, but I really didn't put as much time into it as I have the last 3 weeks after learning, you know, the different things that you guys do with it and how much it means. You know, I really take it into account, and every teacher that I see that has one now, I'm like, you know what, fill it out the right way. Don't just check it off and be finished.
Okay, the needs must be descriptive. Greg is reading far below his grade level. Okay, well, we know that, but what's his grade level? Okay, and what level is he reading on? It's those type of things that we're looking at. Craig demonstrates an inability to consistently remember symbol to sound relationships. This prevents him from being able to successfully sound out words. Okay, so when I look at the two of them, which one as a teacher would I be able to identify with a lot easier? Okay, when the IEP comes into me, if you're telling me that the student reads below grade level, it doesn't really assist me much. But if you're real specific with me and I'm helping that student possibly read when we're in smaller groups, then I know what his IEP says, help him sound it out.
That's a good looking hamburger right there. I don't know how hungry you are. But. All right, annual goals. Here's a list. Okay, these are measurable and observable, or are they not measurable and observable? Okay, we're going to go through this fairly quick just to find out. So when we go to, like the first one, enjoy, y'all just let me know whether it's a check or an X.
X.
Spell orally.
Check.
List in writing.
Check.
No.
X.
Walk.
Check.
Understand.
X.
Illustrate.
Check.
Grasp the meaning of. Point 2,
Check.
read orally,
Check.
write a paragraph,
Check.
remember, realize,
Check.
circle,
Check.
be familiar with,
Check.
count blocks,
Check.
and categorize.
Check.
Okay, so again, it's observable or not observable, measurable or not measurable. Again, coming back to the SMART goal, all right? So with the SMART goal attitude that we've had the last 3 years, it all kind of fits together. You guys are able to write SMART goals, and I know you guys are gonna be able to write just as good of annual goals. It's just nitpicking and picking the right words to go along with what annual goal you're trying to say. Just keep in mind that we can't measure what we can't see, hear, smell, feel, or taste. It's all assumed. Okay, so we're going to go out with the old annual goal. The student will display improved social skills. Well, what does that look like? You don't know what's improved and what's not. Okay, what is it that you want to see? Again, the annual goals must be observable and they must be measurable. When you identify behavior, describe the concrete behavior or the skill set that the student will exhibit. Okay, we've seen the good goals and the bad goals through the slides that we've put up here.
Okay, SMART goals, annual goals. S, be specific. Describe what the student will do 1 year from now that he or she cannot do today. We're going to do an example of this in just a couple seconds. Okay, M is measurable. Describe the criteria that will be used to measure successful achievement of the goal. A is achievable, based on the student's current level of performance and what is reasonable and obtainable at a higher level of performance that the student will achieve within 1 year. And then, is it relevant? Make it relevant. Does the annual goal reflect the individual needs identified in the present levels of performance? And how does the annual goal relate to the student's classroom performance? And then, of course, as Ms. Hewitt said, time. Okay, everything is bound by time. Describe how long the goal will take to achieve and embed the evaluation schedule. Okay, I believe that each of you were given a case. Okay, you should have a sheet that looks just like this. Okay, the who and the when. Will do what. Okay, what's the behavior skill and what are the conditions that they're under and to what extent, and then of course the goal. All of you should have this case right in front of you. Okay, do I have a volunteer to read it?
Marcella continues to exhibit deficits in the area of reading comprehension. Although her SRI scores as of spring 2015 increased by 70 points compared to her score in the fall of 2014, she is still reading below grade level. Marcella is currently reading on level J with 90% accuracy and a fluency rating of 2. Her comprehension of materials is on level J, is currently at 70%. This difficulty with reading comprehension adversely affects her progress in other content areas, such as science and social studies. Marcella's English teacher reports that she has a difficult time completing assignments using nonfiction texts, as she does not always comprehend the reading material. It is extremely difficult for her to go back into the text and find an answer without reading the entire text over.
Okay, so let's walk through the annual goal template that you have there for Marcella. Who and when? Well, we know who. Who is it?
Marcella.
Marcella. And when is it? I used today's date, okay, when I did it. But spring of 2015, all right? We'll do what? What is the behavior and the skill?
Comprehension.
Okay? What else? Improve her comprehension. And how do we do that sometimes?
Identify keywords.
Okay, and we know that we talked about that earlier. I put on mine that I gave a specific goal. I want her to be able to answer 8 comprehensive questions. So I just didn't put in comprehensive. I actually gave an actual goal that I expected Marcella to reach, and that's the 8 questions. Okay, under what conditions?
she's reading below grade level, so to answer is she reading the material by herself, or is somebody gonna read it to her for the comprehension question?
Good point. Good point. Let's take it from both avenues. Okay? What if she was reading it by herself?
Then she would have to be given level J work, where she's reading at least at 90% of it by herself, so she's probably going to be able to, she'll have a better chance of decoding if she can read.
Correct. Okay, and what if someone was reading it to her?
Then it would probably be grade level work.
Okay. On mine, I put given a notification reading selection on her instructional level is what the condition was for mine. And then what is the extent? Let's set a goal for those 8 questions. What would a realistic goal be for Marcella?
80% on 4 out of 5 trials, 3 out of 5 trials, depending on how many trials you're going to do.
Okay. I put 80% accuracy on 2 out of 3, so we're in there. And then what's the ultimate goal that we want for Marcella in a year? Remember, we have that time frame on there.
Increase her reading level at least to another level.
Okay. I'm going to put these in.
Probably comprehend material on her instructional level.
Okay? Because we said that's what the problem was with her, all right? And here is what the goal is. By April 14th, 2016, Marcella will answer 8 reading comprehension questions when presented with a nonfiction text on her instructional level with at least 80% accuracy on 2 or 3 attempts. But if you look at my goal, those pieces were all taken from my template to make the final goal. Okay? All right, we're going to give you a few minutes. If you flip that over, you should have one for Gerard
For Jake Long.
or Jake Long.
Jake Long. All right, we're gonna do the same thing with this particular one.
Imagine that.
Fill out
No correlation.